Hi, we're Ralph and Lahni D'Amicus. We're going to be doing the forecast for March 2025. I would like to mention really quickly, we've been getting a lot of comments about the calendar we've referred to. So if you don't have your calendar, you might want to visit Planetary Calendar so that you can follow along with us. So we're coming up to the final week in March. But we're going to do, instead of 7 days or even 9 days, we're going to do 10 days, I guess. 9 days. 9 days, because the 30th and the 31st have to be tacked on to this final week. So it kind of starts out with a white circle, ends up with a black box, and then kind of peters off at the end with the 30th and the 31st. So let's get started with the 23rd.
Yep. Exactly. Well, that's a relatively mild day. You know, you have nice lunar aspects, but you also have some challenging lunar aspects. So it's kind of a balanced day. You've got the Sun conjunct Pluto in the course of the day, or not, sorry, sextile Pluto. It's not one you're going to really feel that much. So it's kind of a nice, easygoing day. It's the next day that's really interesting, the 24th. You have a bunch of positive lunar aspects, no negative lunar aspects. And then you have the Sun is sextile the moon, and the sun is conjunct Mercury. So there's a lot happening.
And that's another one of those things, because Mercury doesn't really like to be in the beams of the sun like that. You know, it really puts out his light. He gets overshined. Yeah. I was going to say overshadowed, but the sun doesn't shadow anybody. Yeah. So Mercury could be a little bit quirky.
Yeah, you could suffer from some nervous system overload if you don't watch out.
But what saves it is the sextile to the moon.
Right, exactly.
And that happens once it's in Aquarius, and Mercury likes Aquarius.
Exactly. And then,
and that void of course is only not even a half an hour long, so that shouldn't affect anybody. Nice. So we felt like we could put the white circle there.
You know, we're still between the eclipses, so it's still a little bit intense, so you're kind of aware of that. On the Tuesday, very easy aspects, nice sextile between the moon and Jupiter, always pleasant. That's the Jupiter and Gemini, so it's air. And then you have the Mercury sextile Pluto, once again, not one you're going to really notice. So it may put these aspects to Pluto could put people in contact with like the global news. There may be during this period of time, there's a whole series of these aspects.
Sunday Pluto brings in the things that are distant and small.
Yes.
So little things that you might ignore otherwise will be in the news because Mercury is sextile that kind of a thing, or things that are quite a distance away.
I would watch the news for any kinds of outbreaks, disease outbreaks. I know recently when we're recording this, they just had outbreaks in Texas of measles, which is bizarre because measles had pretty much been disappeared. But watch out for like epidemic stuff happening globally or in different places around the world. So.
Well, and then on the 26th, the only aspect there is the square to Uranus, and I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm getting pretty used to that.
Yeah.
Yes. It's right there every day,
Yes, exactly.
So Uranus has to be somewhere, like we like to say.
And the moon's going to be in Aquarius all day, then goes into Pisces
at noon.
Afternoon. Yeah, sorry, the moon. So the day's
in the morning.
The day's going to be a little schizophrenic that way.
Yeah, exactly.
After lunch, it's going to change gears, and then
and then Venus will be backing into Pisces on the 27th with the moon in Pisces. So.
Exactly.
Why is there? Well, she's not conjunct yet because they're out of. Why is she not conjunct the moon there? I'm going to have to check my ephemeris.
Yes.
But we've got a nice sun parallel Mercury that goes along with that in the beams when it was conjunct with the Mercury, and Venus is conjunct Neptune, which is kind of a dreamy position, especially once Venus enters Neptune. There's a relationship between Neptune and Pisces, so that works out.
Here's some helpful and something we wrote. Venus backs into Pisces, the sign of its exaltation. It means it's the sign of the colleague, where it serves so well, connecting Aphrodite to Jupiter. This is a good time to contact people related to your work who you may have forgotten reconnect with. So interesting. Remember,
That's a good.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's Venus in Pisces is a very it's a great position for business, which is funny. It's just it's the ability to kind of see the big picture. It's the ability to socialize easily with other people. It's a wonderful position for bringing kind of an unusual perspective to situations.
When we look at the 28th, this is what worries me. I'm going to say to you, look for a day when we may have to go with 2 rows of aspects above the number, because there's no way we could have fit anything more in there. We already have to make those glyphs as small as we can and still have you be able to read them. But that's a powerful lineup of social aspects there. But the other thing that I like about the day is these little short void of course.
Yes.
You got a 6-minute void of course there.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
That's wonderful. It's a great social day. Think about connecting with people, through work or coworkers, or all kinds of relationships can make connections on that day.
Do not spend the day sitting at home on the couch. Go out and connect with people. People will want to connect. They want to chat. They want to talk. Connections are so important these days.
Well, and I think the work connections are going to be important. You got Uranus in there. You got Neptune in there. You got Pluto in there. So some distant connections along with the, your regular group.
Exactly.
And then here's the elephant in the room.
The second eclipse. Yeah, the new moon, which is going to be at 9 degrees Aries. So if you have anything at 9 degrees Aries or even 9 degrees Libra across from it, or 9 degrees Cardinal, but especially 9 degrees Aries, you will really feel this one. There's also Mercury conjunct Neptune, which is interesting.
And Mercury is entering Pisces.
And Mercury's entering Pisces. Is back into Pisces.
Going on here today.
Yeah.
They look like they're all positive aspects, but the reason there's a black box there is it's just turbulence personified.
This is what we wrote. The partial solar eclipse at 9 degrees Aries coincides with Mercury backing into Pisces and Neptune entering Aries the next day. So hold on to your smartphone. With Mars and Saturn in feminine responsive signs, we see the growing power of women in significant roles of responsibility.
And I want to say we're going to pop up to the 30th and the 31st. It's going to be a little bit anticlimactic, because especially when you look at the 31st, you're going to realize everything happened on the 28th and the 29th. There's nothing more to happen.
Except that
Taurus moon. Make reservations. End the month with a good meal.
Well, Neptune enters Aries. This is a big thing. I mean, Neptune entering Aries. Neptune stays in the sign
the 30th.
For years and years and years. Neptune moves into Aries. So while this signals the Earth coming into a period of more powerful winds, it also shows the growth of new types of fuels. Neptune has a lot to do with like petrochemicals, fuels, energy. The surface of Neptune is covered with massive numbers of storms as a real big moon system. At the time when they associated it with Pisces, they didn't know what they were talking about. It really is not the Piscean energy. It very much is about, it's a much more highly energized, dynamic planet than that.
And what do you think about the fact that it enters Aries under an Aries moon?
Exactly, energy.
Before the moon enters Taurus.
Exactly, energy. It's a very highly energized position, and we're going to be dealing with it for the next 12 years. And then on the 31st, there's no aspects. It's just the moon.
That's what I said.
You said. So it's
out with a whimper. Comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube at Planetary Calendar Astrology. And if you don't have a calendar, come visit us at planetarycalendar.com. See you next time.